Game of Thrones showrunners explain why they created the Night King. The Night King has become such an integral part of the story that it's easy to forget that the White Walker leader isn't in George Wright Reverend Martin's novels. But why was the Night King created in the first place? And what does he want? First introduced in Season 4, the Night King, played initially by Richard Brake and, later, by Vladimir Furtick, has been leading his army south toward West Eros while resurrecting the dead for his ranks, stalking Seer Bran Stark, and last season capturing one of Daenerys' dragons to bring down the wall. A Season 6, EW asked GOT showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss what inspired them to add the character to their HBO hit series. It was almost logical as you went back in time, as you create the prehistory for all this, Weiss said. We've seen what and once you go back into that flashback scene, that required a person there, and that was Vlad, who for a long time was our best stuntman, Benioff added. In Season 8, the Night King leads newly captured dragon and the army of the dead to an attack on Winterfell. But what does the Night? I don't think of him as evil, I think of him as death, Benioff said. And that's what Benioff notes that another common question they get about the character is why doesn't the Night King ever speak? But what's he going to say? Benioff countered, for more on the Night King, who has his own unique insight on the character. GOT returns April 14, AA.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.